Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Saturday, the 17th of October. Yes, it's election day today, folks, but sport still goes on. And in the news this morning, we've got news from the Bathurst 100 qualifying. Cricket is nearly back. I'll give you an update from the Giro d'Italia, as well as a sponsorship ride down in South Island. We'll have Stephen with our NRL update, the sport that just keeps on giving, as well as updates from the rugby, where we've had the Ranfurly Shield, Faro Palmer Cup action, and also confirmation about the Rugby Championship, which we talked about yesterday. This is your best way to start today up to speed with all the important sports news. And you know what, folks? This is episode 199 of the morning sports briefing. Yes, that big 200 will come up tomorrow, which, wow, when we start this back at the beginning of April, and we have brought this to you every single morning since then. Nearly 200 days now of consecutive shows. Wow. So a big up to us, basically. Over then to the Bathurst 100 and in preliminary qualifying, and we had a surprise leader as Holdsworth qualified fastest in that one. And he behind him, we had Shane Van Gibson, Scott McLaughlin, and Cameron Waters. Also, Scott McLaughlin has been going fast and was fastest in practice. It didn't help, though, that he missed a downshift on 10 minutes before the end of practice. And that meant that he spun his car and crashed into the walls. So he hopes that the damage isn't too much, because, boy, is he happy with how the car is going this weekend. We've still got more practice and then the top 10 shootout of qualifying to go. That's why it's a provisional poll so far for the Bathurst 100. And I'm going to hand you over to Stephen, who is going to take us through our birthdays. And boy, what a lovely sunny backdrop with the birds singing you have there, sir.
Oh, it's an absolutely stunning morning here in Hastings this morning. Paul, beautiful blue sky. It's very chilly, though. It's only 2 degrees. That's why I'm wearing this hoodie at the moment. So it is going to be a great day down here, though. It's going to be only a high of 16 degrees, but I think the sky is going to be exactly what it is from directly behind me. And yes, a great day to have your birthday, and that's where we start things this morning. A former Manawatu in Auckland All Black halfback, a tearaway fast bowler from Wellington, and finally a former Commonwealth Games cruiserweight boxing champion. And that's where we start things this morning. Shane Cameron, born this day, the 17th of October 1977, is a New Zealand professional boxer. He is a former Commonwealth Games cruiserweight champion, having also held several regional titles at the heavyweight division. As an amateur, he won a bronze medal in the heavyweight division at the 2002 Commonwealth Games. Outside of boxing, he placed 5th in 2015 series of Dancing with the Stars. So a man who's very good on his feet. We'll have a quick look at his record. He had 34 fights, 29 wins, 22 by KO, and 5 losses. Interestingly enough, those 5 losses, 3 came in his last 3 fights. And of course, those other 2 losses were to former New Zealander. Well, he's not a former New Zealander, but New Zealander, Samoan-born David Tua, and also Friday Arahanja. He also lost to as well, but Shane Cameron still doing some great things out in the community. Moving right along, Raymond Gillespie, born this day, the 17th of October 1979, is a former New Zealand cricketer. He came to the selectors' attention in 2005-2006 season with 43 wickets at 23.16 for Wellington. He then played for New Zealand A in the top end series of 2006, New Zealand squad of 14 for the Champions Trophy, the national side between 2006 and 2012. He made his test debut on the 16th of November 2007 against South Africa. His last test was on the 23rd of March 2012 against South Africa. His ODI internationals, he was kept 140 5 times, and he made his debut in 2006 against Sri Lanka, and his last ODI was against the West Indies in 2009. He also played T20 cricket, debuted, played 20 caps the 22nd of December 2006 against Sri Lanka, and his last was against England in 2008, and that is Mark Gillespie. And finally this day, Jason Hewitt, born this day, the 17th of October 1968, is a former New Zealand Rugby Union player. Halfback Hewitt represented Manawatu and Auckland at domestic level. He was a member of the New Zealand national side, the All Blacks, in 1991, just played the one game, and that was a test against Italy. And there we have it for birthdays this morning. I'll be back with lead news, and we'll touch base on that preliminary semi-final last night.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and thank you, Hugh, for correcting me there. It's the Bathurst 1000, not the Bathurst 100. Boy, if it was 100, they'd be over and done with in a very quick sprint race. Dear me. Sorry, yes, corrections call it Bathurst 1000. Over in the cycling then, and at the Giro d'Italia, we're getting a lot of people picking up their second or multiple wins, as Diego Uliesi of UAE Team Emirates picked up his second win of the race. He just edged out the overall leader, Almeida of De Koning Quickstep, who extended his lead in the overall classification. It was a relatively flat day with just 2 climbs towards the end, and Uliesi's UAE team put the hammer down at that point to drop the other sprinters, and Uliesi duly delivered the victory for them. Tomorrow is the time trial, or the race of truth, as they say, where it's just the individual riders against the clock. So we'll see if Almeida can maintain the overall lead after that. Down in Southland, though, we had a wonderful 100k ride by Reece McDonald. Reece McDonald did ride with him, but by Peter Grandek, who is 88, who rode the 100 kilometres to raise $6,500 for St John's, New Zealand. He and 20 senior and veteran cyclists, including the 1998 Commonwealth Games gold medalist Glenn Thompson, rode the 100 kilometres, raising money on Restart a Heart Day, which is raising awareness around CPR and the use of defibrillators. So great effort by the veteran riders down there in Southland. I'm going to hand you back now to Stephen. He's going to take us through our NRL update, the sport that just keeps on giving.
Yeah, thanks again, Paul. The Melbourne Storm are set to appear in their 10th NRL Grand Final. We also check in on tonight's other semi-final to see who get to play the Storm, and we'll check in on the Betfred Super League, but it's with last night's result. We start. The Melbourne Storm will appear in an NRL Grand Final for the 10th occasion after putting away the Canberra Raiders 30 points to 10 in their blockbuster preliminary final at Suncorp Stadium last night. It took the Melbourne Storm just 5 minutes to burst out of the blocks with a try to Jesse Bromwich after a Raiders mistake. Then just 90 seconds later, Josh Adokar made a break down the sideline and set up Ryan Pappenhausen for the second try of the night for the Storm. The Storm made it 3 tries in 5 minutes when Suliasi Vunivalu dived over moments later to send the hosts out to a 16-0 lead after 10 minutes. Cameron Smith slotted a penalty goal in the 16th minute to push the lead out to 18 points to 0 after missing the earlier conversion. Adokar looked to have made it 4 tries after 20 minutes after beating Shan's Nicole Klokstad to the ball, but the bunker inexplicably ruled he knocked it on in the put-down. Pappenhausen then turned provider after he grubbered for Jostin Olam, who pounced on a horrible error from Nick Cotrick in the end goal. Cotrick made up for his earlier mistake when he charged over after leaping high for a kick to finally get the Raiders on the board 10 minutes before the break. The Raiders finished the first half the stronger and burst out of the blocks in the second half stanza by tackling Dane Finucane into the in-goal area after a restart. However, a knock-on from Hudson Young off a poor pass from Havili ruined what could have been the perfect start to the second half for the Green Machine. The Raiders had all the running in the second half, but the Storm wore hell firm to keep turning them away. Finucane then made the most of a missed forward pass to all but seal the result with a try in the 64th minute. Veteran Cameron Smith then showed his class. He produced a brilliant try-saving tackle to deny Kotrick a certain try, emphasising what a true professional the great man is. He left the field to a standing ovation in what might be his last outing at Suncorp Stadium. Kotrick kept a busy night with a second try to give his side some consolation, but it was too little too late. That final score again, Melbourne Storm 30, the Canberra Raiders 10, as we head and have a quick look at our second game today from ANZ Stadium, once again at 10 to 10 this evening, where the Panthers, who probably are the favourites, remembering sitting on 16 straight wins at the moment, to take on the Rabbitohs, should be an absolute beauty. So there's only 3 left in the competition, and we head across and have a quick look at the Betfred Super League. In the game played yesterday saw St Helens too good for Wakefield Trinity, winning by 48 points to 6, which extends their lead at the top of the table. They're sitting on 22 points from Wigan, who are on 20, the Catalans 16, and Warrington. It's a weird setup in this table. You've got Warrington sitting on 20 points. That's all our league news today. I hope everybody enjoys what looks like a beautiful day, not just in the Hawke's Bay here, but also all across the country as well, Paul.
No, absolutely, yes. It's looking out my window here in Hamilton, and yes, it is lovely blue skies. Even though I did see earlier that rain was predicted for today, so keep your eyes on the weather forecast. You may see a little bit of rain around here. Moving on then to the cricket news, and yes, cricket is almost back. The Plunket Shield will be kicking off on Monday, when we're going to see a lot more black caps around than you would normally see because of, obviously, the lack of international cricket. So if you're around Shedden Oval or next week, you will, where else are they playing? Or the Basin Reserve or the Outer Oval, then you might see some black caps, or you will see some black caps playing cricket next week in the Plunket Shield. Also, with no internationals during the T20 competition that runs January to February, also most teams will be full strength for pretty much all of those games as well. And we've seen what that's done to the first couple of rounds of the Mitre 10 Cup, having All Blacks back there. We know it does increase the interest. So, folks, looking forward to a good cricket season coming up, and Arswin will bring us all the details in his cricket updates. Don't forget that Swing from the Hips has moved to a Monday evening from next week at 8 p.m. Rather than the Thursday slot it previously had. Moving on to rugby news, and in the Ranfurly Shield, we saw Hawke's Bay defend the Shield 33-17 against Northland. In the first half, both sides had opportunities, but just couldn't really capitalise on them. And that meant we had a half-time score of 9-3. In the second half, though, Hawke's Bay took their advantages, or took opportunities to build out a lead. And once they'd scored those 2 tries and got themselves out to a 21-3 lead, it was always going to be a long way back for Northland. And Hawke's Bay, just dominated that, or kept themselves in front during that second half to have what ended up being a comfortable victory in the Ranfurly Shield. Stephen, you were there for that game, and you do have some videos from that game as well, and you need to unmute, please.
Yes, I've posted up some post-match reaction, spoke to Rennie Ranger and Dan Hawkins from Northland, and also had a quick word to Hawke's Bay Magpies assistant coach Josh Sims, and got a quick word from Stacey Ely as well, who was very impressive in the midfield. Yes, it was a case of when you do challenge for the Shield, you've got to take every opportunity on offer. There was a brilliant breakout from Sam Knock and he looked like he'd finished off the try, but just in the support play, breaker higher, just knocking on at that point of time. And to be honest, I think the Magpies a little bit tactically naive in the first half. They were kicking a lot of their ball away, which meant Northern were able to stay pretty much camped in the Hawke's Bay half. But in the second half, a change of tactics from Hawke's Bay. They started using their line-out drive and more to good effect. And unfortunately for Northland, they just compounded things with a whole lot of mistakes. They did hit back to 21-10 at one stage, but straight from the kickoff, there was a mistake from Scott Gregory, which immediately put Hawke's Bay back on the attack. They kicked to the corner and scored. And that was pretty much the game, Paul. Done and dusted. But good to see a nice, boisterous crowd there with both lots of supporters at McLean Park, and it's going to take a good team to knock Hawke's Bay over. Of course, from what I understand, I think there could only be the one home match. I know they definitely got Manawatu to go in the Mitre 10 Cup, as I have a quick...
so they've got Manawatu next weekend, and then a break, and then not a break, but then an away game, and then they host Wellington at home. So, yes, a couple more defences to go for the season. Assuming it stays down there in Nelson. Obviously, if it goes off to Manawatu, then hey, it could. There's other places it could go as well. So yes, a couple of defences left for them. Catch those interviews or the videos over on our Facebook page, New Zealand Sports Radio, for those. Moving on then to the Faro Palmer Cup, and over in the Faro Palmer Cup, Manawatu saw off Hawke's Bay 12-29 to cement their second place in the Southern Division, which means that Canterbury and Manawatu will be the two semi-finalists from the Hawke's Bay Southern Division going forward in that competition. The playoffs will be on the 24th and the 25th of October. Over in the Sanzar confirmed yesterday that South Africa will not be entering the Rugby Championship, and we'll have to see what long term that means for Sanzar and the Rugby Championship, even though New Zealand Rugby has said they are confident that the Springboks are committed to the competition long term. It'll mean less games in the Rugby Championship this season, unless they can put together a Barbarians team to replace them. And you have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all of the important sports news. Have a fantastic start to your weekend, folks. And we'll be back here tomorrow at 7 a.m. for episode 200 of the Morning Sports Briefing.